You're listening to the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. Now here's your hosts, Kevin, Derek, and Alex.
Alrighty, welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. I am Derek, and I'm joined, as always, by your co-host, Kevin. Alex has got the JOB thing going on and is not going to be with us tonight, but we have an excellent show planned out for you. Kevin, how you doing?
I'm good, man. What is going on?
Not a whole lot. I cannot complain much. It was a busy weekend of drafting, that was for sure. We got the home league, got that one drafted in, and feel spectacular about my home league team. Really could not have been happier with how that one turned out. So the season's set. Like once we get to the home league and we get that draft out, I'm like, all right, I'm locked in. I'm ready to go. Like fully ready to rock and roll this one. So, when you get that league of record going, that's the one that ultimately brings everything home for you.
Yep, absolutely. So I enjoyed the home league draft. I followed that up with a big work league draft on Monday night, and so I'm officially done. I'm coasting into the start of the season with no time to spare. But we're here, right? First weekend of college football in the books. Got to see some real. Technically, it's the second weekend, but that real week zero doesn't count. There's a reason it's called week zero. Week one, spectacular. Absolutely spectacular. My defending champion Bulldogs laid the wood down. And a couple other notable performances, right? OU looked good. Alabama continues to look good. Clemson and Ohio State kind of struggled through the first half, and then second half, kind of took care of things. And then a couple upsets, right? The Utes going down to the swamp and losing to an unranked Gators team. The Pac-12 didn't do themselves any favors, right? What's left, right? Because I don't even count USC and UCLA in Pac-12, Pac-10 territory anymore. Like they've already made their decision that they're leaving. And so what's left? Your shining stars. Both went up against SEC East teams, right? Because the East normally gets knocked on for being the weaker half. Oregon, being ranked 11th, got beat by 46 points in a neutral site game. And the Utes went down to Gainesville and got knocked off by the Gators. And typically I'm not a person who roots for Florida, but I will root for the conference, especially against the Pac-10. And they handled business. And everybody did good until LSU crapped the bed.
Yeah, and that was a crazy ending to that game. I remember us watching that like right as we're getting ready to do our draft, and that was going on during the home league draft there as well, and an absolutely insane finish and a lot of fun to watch that one there as well. So you're right, Oklahoma. It had a very different feel to the season to start off with. There was a lot of effort on the defensive side of the ball this time around, and that was very good to see. So overall, a lot of fun watching some college football, but now it's on to the NFL, which is kicking off on Thursday night here, and that's going to be a blast. We do have a great show for y'all tonight. We are going to be covering lots of different bases. We got a very kind of busy slate for you. It's the Call Your Shot show. So we're going to be going through all the divisions, calling our shot, who we think we're going to win. We're going to be calling our shots on who's playing in the conference championships, who we think is going to playing in the Super Bowl, who we got winning MVP, all that kind of good stuff, as well as the fact that we're going to be getting into some really cool things out there from Flex Fantasy, from Monkey Knife Fight as well. And there's a ton of questions that have been showing up all across the socials, and we are going to be covering a lot of those questions as they come through as well, and really rocking and rolling on that one. So, Kevin, let's go ahead and before we get into our Flex Fantasy play, make sure that y'all are hitting up the socials: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitch at Good Old Boys FF, and of course the YouTube channel, the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast YouTube channel. One of the best ways to support this independent podcast is head over there, click the subscribe button, and give us a follow over there. That one helps out immensely. We are only about a handful of subscribers under 600 right now, and that would be a big boost for us and a big thrill for us if we could get to that 600 mark here before the season kicks off on Thursday. And hope y'all can help us out with that one. Tell a friend, shoot it over to them, help the boys out there. But let's go ahead and start rocking and rolling on this one. So first thing off, we're going to be talking about Flex Fantasy. And if you're looking for a fun, new, and unique way to play fantasy football, you've got to check out Flex Fantasy. The best way to challenge people, not just in your league. If you happen to have a disagreement amongst you and your friends, your coworkers about who's got the better fantasy team, settle the debate and settle Flex Fantasy. No more of this. You're trying to chart out and trying to figure out scoring differences and trying to figure out lineup differences and all that. Flex Fantasy's got you covered. It's a very simple platform where you load your teams up, you set your challenges, and you rock and roll on that one. So settle that debate with Flex Fantasy, and you can sign up for Flex Fantasy today at flex.fan/goodoldboysff on that one. That is flex.fan/GOODOLDBOYSFF.com. Flex.fan/goodoldboysff. Make sure you're signing up there, checking that out. We've got a ton of matchups that we've got posted over there as well. So you'll want to be hitting that one up and playing that one. And we'll be getting to that in the matchups and calling our shots on some matchups on Flex Fan here in just a little bit. All right, that video always gets me pumped up and fired up to talk about some Flex Fan. So, absolutely, let's go ahead and let's hop into Flex Fantasy. Right now, they've still got the sign up promotion running right now, where they're going to be giving away a signed Aaron Rodgers helmet, and you can still get on that one if you head over there today and sign up. Again, the link down in the description on the YouTube channel. You can find it on our social medias out there. Sign up, flex.fan/goodoldboysff. All righty. So, Kevin, we're heading to the arena here. And when we're talking arena, right, that's where you can go in. You can find all of these great matchups here on Flex Fantasy. And we're going to go ahead and we're just going to kind of pick through a couple of these guys. And we're going to, pick who we want. We're going to kind of break some of these things down here real quick. And we've got one that I saw down here earlier that we ended up challenging a guy that we've had on the show here before. And so we've got to go through here. We had Will on the show a couple weeks ago. Y'all remember him, I'm sure. And he's got it out there where he's got his roster up there. We challenged him. And so we're going to be taking him on. And let's kind of go through the rosters here real quick. So Will is going to be starting Russell Wilson, Breece Hall, Travis Etienne, Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams, Dallas Goedert, Jerry Jeudy, Gabriel Davis, Joey Bosa, Koo at kicker, and the Ravens at defense. This will obviously get sorted out here a little bit, so some of this will come back to the mean there a little bit. But the roster we're rolling out there: Russell Wilson, DeAndre Swift, Alvin Kamara, Deontay Johnson, DJ Moore, Mark Andrews, Travis Etienne, Jameson Winston, Carlson at kicker, the Colts defense, and then our IDP plays are CJ Mosley and Holcomb from the Commanders there. So, Kevin, what kind of steps out to you right off the bat here on the looking at these rosters?
Well, I think first and foremost, right, the most notable is quarterback, dead even across the board, right? Like starting Wilson on both sides. Okay, you're good there. Derek, I think you have the edge on running back. I like the Swift and Kamara combo a little bit more than the Breece Hall and Etienne. But Will does make it up on the wide receiver room, right? Jefferson and Adams is a hell of a 1-2 punch there at wide receiver. Deontay Johnson and DJ Moore are no slouches. They're just not quite in that same tier, right? As we go back to our tier-based drafting. But then you get down into the tight ends, right? Mark Andrews being that shining star for the Baltimore passing game. And against Dallas Goedert, who is a good tight end in his own right, but kind of just he's not quite to that level, right? Just not quite there yet. And then you get in, and then ETN's nixed out for both of you as well, right? So then it's just kind of that mix of, they have Gabe Davis. I think that one probably gets taken out, right, to kind of balance the deck, and we lose an IDP player to kind of balance the deck. So overall, I like that. I don't think Judy's going to be doing as much this week in Denver on Monday night. Gabe Davis is the sexy young name, but Diggs still runs the show in that passing game for Buffalo. So I think push come to shove, I think I like your matchups a little bit more this week. So I'm going to give you the slight edge there, Derek.
I was looking at this thing as well, and I'm going to be choosing myself, obviously, there as well. So it's a consensus. We're going to go ahead and we're going to pick our side there and the matchup there against Will. So a lot of fun, right? And this one here, right? It's for the honor. It's for the pride of it. Not any money being gone either way on this one. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to select ourselves there. Let's go ahead and head back to the arena here and take some more looks here at some possible matchups here. Alrighty. So looking at it, there's a bunch of different, really good matchups here. This was one that really kind of stood out here. Projected, it's pretty even right off the bat here, but let's go ahead and dive into this one. And you've got Biased Opinions team and you got PKSDG's team looking at this thing. And so starters, you got Russell Wilson, Breece Hall, Travis Etienne, Jefferson, Adams, Goddard, Judy, Gabe Davis, Bosa, Koo, and the Ravens defense up against Lamar Jackson, A.J. Dillon, Cordell Patterson, Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, Michael Thomas, Pitts, Kittle, Woods, Hubbard, Owe, Bosa, and quite frankly, a bunch of IDPs that are just going to get taken out on that one. And in fact, looking at it, it also looks like the kicker and the defense will get nixed on this one to help kind of balance that thing out there as well. So we're going to be looking at probably a single QB, 2 wide receivers, 2 flex, and a single tight end type of breakdown on this one as far as how I'm kind of looking at this. But what kind of stands out to you on this matchup here? Which side do you kind of like?
Let's see here. So Justin Jefferson gets nixed, right? For both sides. I like Kyle Pitts this week. I know that the Saints play Atlanta tough, but you got to throw the ball to somebody there if you're Atlanta. So I think Kyle Pitts is going to be kind of continuing the path that he was on at the end of last year. Tyreek has done a good job in his career of burning the Patriots, right? I like the upside there. I think Cordell Patterson and A.J. Dillon are both projected too low based off of what we're going to see them do. I expect him to fall into the end zone here in week 1 against Minnesota. And we kind of get back to it. Devontae Adams, Goddard. I'm not loving the number 2 receivers that Will has, right? Like Judy and Gabe Davis are both number 2 receivers. And I think that's really what I'm struggling with this lineup that Will has going on here. So I think I'm leaning here with Jackson and Dillon and Pitts and Michael Thomas.
Yeah, and I think I'm kind of right there with you, right? Like there is something to be said about those revenge games and all of that, but I think Lamar's got some things to prove, right? He's playing for a contract going into the season without that extension right now. I do like both Dillon and Patterson here. Cumulative over Hall and ETN. The wide receivers kind of push it for me, so that the difference on this one really starts becoming the tight ends and the quarterbacks, and I got to give the edge to PKSDG team on this one. So we are in consensus, and we're going to go ahead and rock and roll that one, and we'll see how we we ultimately stack up there on that. So Kevin, let's go ahead and let's get one more in here on the arena and see what we like here.
Hold on. Nope, go down right there. Sorry. Well, that's not very close, is it? Never mind. Sorry.
You were seeing the one, the MDFF shows team and PKSDG team?
It just caught my eye to start with, but actually the one to the right of it, right, with Digging It and
all right, yeah, let's take a look there.
Brooks team.
Yeah, let's take a look at this one, right? So we'll start with Digging It side. We've got Allen, Diggs, Woods, Mixon, Akers, Waller, Dobbins, Prater, Bills defense. On the other side for Peyton Pork's team, we got Burrow, Swift, Barkley, Higgins, Pittman, Schultz, Zeke, Harris, Warner, Folk, and the Bucks defense, which looking at this one, it looks like you'll probably have one of the flexes kind of get bounced there, and you will and you'll have the IDP bounce there as well. So what are you thinking here? Which side you liking?
I guess at first glance, right, I'm digging the stack, Allen and Diggs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Allen, Diggs. I like Mixon. Mixon Akers is the running back combo that I'm starting out the home league with, so I obviously like that. Barkley starting the year healthy. I think this probably might be these first 4 weeks are the best Saquon Barkley you're going to see, right? Like, I'm not a huge believer in him. I was coming around on him towards draft day, but ultimately didn't pull the trigger, went in a different direction. Swift will see a ton of work. Burrow and Higgins got a nice little combo there. So Pittman, right? I like Michael Pittman over Robert Woods. And I think Dalton Schultz and Waller are a good balance, right? So we'll scrub those out. And I do think Zeke in week 1, I think that projection's a little high, right? We saw this last year. And I actually think that kind of helps because I don't know that Dobbins is going to play at week 1, right? I think there's a good chance that they rest him. So those guys balance out too. So really what it comes down to is I think Allen shows a bit better than Burrow. And I like the fact that I think I like the combo of Mixon and Diggs as the top running back and top receiver, just slightly more than Higgins or Pittman and Barkley. So I think I'm going to go with the Allen Diggs combo here to take week 1.
I'm going to go there as well. And for those of you that are, looking for some more analysis on some of the lineup here on Peyton Pork's team, you'll find it when we get down here to the Pine and Shine, because I've got a player over there that just might show up here a little bit later in the show with some things to say about it. So, but I do like it. We're gonna go ahead and pick Digging It and enter the challenge that way. And then too, when we were on here, I saw that we got a notification that we had been challenged. So let's go ahead and look here at the challenges and see. We've had a couple of these things. So we have a couple of ones that have. Nope, that was just that one there. Okay. So looks like we are kind of caught up there on a lot of our challenges, and we are ready to rock and roll. And again, guys, this is one of those that this is a lot of fun. A completely different way to play fantasy football, right? Like if you are looking, Kevin and I play in a ton of leagues together, but we're also playing a ton of leagues apart. And so this is one of those that Flex Fantasy gives us the option where we can still square up head to head with some of these lineups. And, it inevitably happens where we think that we've got the better team. And, I think I've got the better team. He thinks he's got the better team, but now we can just hop in here to Flex Fantasy and settle it right here on the gridiron. And it's a wonderful platform, gives a great way in order to do that. And so, make sure that you guys are heading over there, flex.fan/goodoldboysff to sign up. And you can find the link to that down in the description. Whether you're listening to this on the podcast or, your podcast platform, or you're checking it out on YouTube, it'll be in the description there. But Kevin, I think that's going to go ahead and bring us to the end of some Flex Fantasy here for this show. And we'll be getting into some of that a little bit later on as we go through there. But Kevin, we definitely were very busy this offseason here, talking a lot of player breakdowns, and we chopped all those videos up, put them up there on the YouTube channel, and a lot of y'all have a lot of questions that have been coming in on that through the socials and through that. So I think it's time that we just head on over to the mailbag here and check it out. So the mailbag, we are in fantasy week 1 mailbag, and quite frankly, I'm really happy with how that graphic turned out. I just gotta pat myself on the back here a little bit. But alrighty, let's go ahead. We're gonna head into the first question. This one coming in from YouTube. Eric saying he has Najee as his RB1, but he doesn't know what to do with Hunt, Dillon, and Patterson in a 12-man PPR. What are your thoughts here?
Hunt, Dillon, and Patterson. So I'm going to shy away from Patterson going up against the Saints defense. Hunt. So it's down to Hunt and Dillon. I think I like Dillon week 1.
Yep.
Haven't done the weekly rankings, but I know there's a certain few guys that I like, kind of like Derek. I might touch on this here later in the show, but I'm going to lead A.J. Dillon to pair up with Najee Harris here in week 1.
Yeah, I mean, A.J. Dillon certainly has the easier matchup this week. Hunt is going to be, both of these guys are going to be in running back by committee type of deals. And so I think you're right. I think that you're going to see A.J. Dillon have the better potential to fall into the end zone, and that's going to be a big separator there, while Kareem Hunt probably sees more PPR work. I think A.J. Dillon will neutralize that and pull ahead with a touchdown on the ground there. And I think that you're going to see similar yardage outputs on that one this week here as well. So before we head over to the next one that came in through that, Bill, we got Bill in the chat here. Bill, good seeing you. And always a pleasure seeing you in the chat, sir. Ayuk or Devontae Smith here. I'm assuming that's in week 1. Kevin, what are your thoughts here on Ayuk or Devontae Smith?
I'm going Devontae Smith. I think he's going to be a more consistent focal point for the Eagles than Ayuk is for the Niners. Just based off of kind of what we've seen and heard, Ayuk, I think he struggles as standalone value as the number 2. He's a great asset to have if Debo goes down. But to start out, I'm going to buy the hype that the Eagles passing game has kind of taken that next step in Jalen Hurts' accuracy, the acquisition of A.J. Brown. I think that helps Devonta Smith. So for week 1, I have no problem trotting him out here.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of right there with you on that one there as well. I do like Devonta Smith quite a bit this year. I do think that you're going to see, I really do think that you're going to see Jalen Hurts take the next step there. A slightly easier matchup for San Francisco playing the Bears on this one, but it's just slightly, like, this is not a massive difference as far as the opposing matchup there. So I'm going to go with the guy that I think is probably going to their team's going to score more points, and I'm going to go with Devonta Smith there as well. Another question coming in over here on YouTube: Dameon Pierce or Gabe Davis in the flex, and it looks like it's a 0.5-point PPR. Thoughts?
Pierce. Gabe Davis. I need to see the fact that he's going to see more than 60 or 70 catches in a season, right? So you want to – Gabe Davis is nice because you bank on those high water marks, right, the touchdown games, but I need to see that he's actually going to be focused in on the offense a little bit more than his, 63 catch kind of average over the course of his first couple seasons. So I'm going to take the gamble on Pierce. The buzz has been around him, I think, for week 1, right? There's tons of time to make up. That Rams defense is good, right? Like, the Bills offense is dynamic, but the Rams defense is good as well. Typically passing games struggle a little bit to start the season. But I think Dameon Pierce, let's see what he got. They've been comparing him to Arian Foster, which is high praise down there in Houston. So let's see what the kid has.
Yes, very much so that it has been pretty insane with what they're saying about this kid there. This is one that I've actually got when we talk about our monkey knife fight game here, I've got Gabe Davis showing up in that one there. And I do think that he will find a way to get into the end zone. So there's some of that, but I do like the Gabe Davis or the Dameon Pierce upside on that one, where I think he will see more involvement throughout the game on this one. And I think you'll see an overall higher usage number out of that one. So I'm going to go with the volume for sure. All righty, let's go ahead and we're going to head back to the mailbag here. And next question that came in, Terry over on YouTube, should I trade Mitchell and Hollywood for Pierce or Penny and Gabe Davis? Would you trade Hollywood straight up for Gabe Davis full point PPR? Absolutely not on the second part. I'm keeping Hollywood Brown over Gabe Davis.
I would absolutely agree. I'm running with Hollywood Brown in I think the work league I just drafted as my number 2 wide receiver here. So I like the fact that he's going to be the focal point of that offense for the first 6 weeks, no matter what. And Kyler and Hollywood already have a natural connection because of their time together. So I don't know that I'm making either one of those trades. Like, instead of trying to get Pierce or Penny, I would be paying really close attention and maybe just picking up Mitchell's backup. Right. And I think it's Tyrion Davis Price is who the long-standing backup is going to be. Jeff Wilson's going to see some run for sure, especially if Mitchell goes down. But I think in the long run, you'll be happier with Davis Price as Mitchell's backup, but I am keeping Hollywood on my roster.
Yes, I would agree on that one. And that's kind of what I'm thinking too. Pierce or Penny are very nice and flashy type of names here. But the problem is that you're going to be in 2 offenses that I think are going to have a hard time ultimately moving the ball on the ground there. And you're going to stall out there to the point where in the second half, you may not see much utilization. Whereas the Niners, you very well could be in control of a lot of those games going through there, and they should have a winning record. Also, another sneaky play for everybody out there, kind of, peeking around there and maybe starting to take a look at waiver wires and starting to flag some guys to keep an eye on. Another guy to keep an eye on is in that Niners backfield is the guy that's actually behind Tyrion Davis Price there as well. And that's Jordan Mason, an undrafted rookie out of Georgia Tech there. He's a big body guy, and he could see some run there. The Niners have a horrible history with running back injury over the last couple of seasons there. So just not worth adding, not saying anything like that. Just keep a flag on him, keep an eye on him there. Let's go ahead and look at another question coming in here. Pittman, Metcalf, Gabe Davis, Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore. Should I be looking to trade, hit waivers? Any names? No, I think you're going to stand pat, certainly with the first 2, right? With Pittman, Metcalf, I think you're going to stand pat there. Davis is some upside shots. Kadarius Toney, very likely is going to be the number 1 wide receiver for that Giants offense, and likely the Giants are going to be down quite a bit, so you could see some there, see some run there, and Sky Moore, some potential upside there. I don't know that I'm necessarily going to be looking to move on that right now.
The only guy I'd be looking to see if I can upgrade from is Sky Moore. I'm not the believer here this first season. I think Romeo Doubs for Green Bay is going to have a better season than Sky Moore. On top of, you have guys like Marvin Jones Jr., like the unforgotten name in Jacksonville, right? Like, it's not a sexy name, but depending on the situation, the guy's going to provide some upside. Jacksonville is going to be airing the ball out. Peterson likes to run the ball. That's very true. But Jacksonville's still going to be trailing. They bolstered up the offensive line to help out Trevor Lawrence. So Marvin Jones is a guy that I would at least take a look at. But Sky Moore would be the one that I would look at upgrading. But the fact that he's your 5th receiver, I mean, that's almost water under the bridge, man. You can sit on him if you like Sky Moore. You can sit on him and see if he develops.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind necessarily sitting on him for a second, just long enough to see what happens out there in Kansas City. But
Paris Campbell, though, right?
Yes.
The guy who largely goes undrafted. And I know, welcome to our show. We are Paris Campbell homers for whatever reason. He's a guy that I would look at, right?
Yes.
A guy who's really the number 2 in Indianapolis. A lot of people are on Alex Pierce, but it's Michael Pittman and Paris Campbell. And what we've seen in Matt Ryan offenses typically is the number 2 guy is the guy who gets the touchdowns, right? Like number 1 gets fed. So Michael Pittman becomes the de facto Julio Jones. Think of it that way. And please don't tell me I'm comparing Pittman to Julio. I know Julio's a Hall of Famer, but just for the offensive sake, Pittman's the guy who's going to be seeing a ton of targets. He'll catch the ball all over the field, but there's not the guarantee he's going to fall into the end zone, right? Like Matt Ryan he forces it in between the 20s, but he doesn't force it in the red zone. Like he doesn't have a whole lot of red zone turnovers for all of, the Matt Ryan-ness that you got in Atlanta. So when that's the case, he goes for the sure thing. And I think Paris Campbell is going to have some sneaky upside in this offense that a lot of people just aren't paying attention to.
Yeah, in fact, when we were doing our home draft, I sat there and I looked at you and I had to make the decision because I'm right there with you on the Paris Campbell train. And, we started getting down there in the 14th, 15th, 16th rounds. And I knew it was going to come down to either you or I were going to pull the trigger on him. And I decided I was just going to beat you to him on that one and took him, probably a round or so earlier than I think you probably would have. But just because I think you're right, I think that's one that is a deep, sneaky shot that has a ton of upside on that one.
Absolutely. And it's go get your guy. We talked about that, and you did it right. You wanted him. You knew that I was drafting close enough in proximity that I could foil your draft plan.
Mm-hmm.
So you took him, and that late in the draft, I mean,
it's a dart throw anyway, and it's a lottery ticket, right? Like that's what you got to think of is it's a late round lottery ticket, and it doesn't cost you much, but the payoff could be huge, and that's kind of where you got to look at some of those. Alrighty, so Soldier Tone on that one. Start 2, Woods, Devontae Smith, Deontay Johnson. I'm assuming that's for week 1. And the Woods on that one is Robert Woods. So it's Robert Woods, Devontae Smith, Deontay Johnson. Got to start 2 of them. Who you going with?
I'm going with Deontay and Bobby Trees.
Yep.
Go with the 2 number 1 options.
Mm-hmm.
It's too soon in the fantasy year to get cute with it. Right. And we like Devonta Smith. We talked about him earlier when Bill was asking about him. But when you have 2 number 1 options like Robert Woods and Deontay Johnson, Devonta Smith, as good of a player as he is, he's still second, possibly third fiddle some weeks in Philadelphia in a team that really does like to run the ball. They ran the ball, 55% of the time? Like they're one of the teams that were heavier on the run. A lot of that was because of Jalen Hurts. But, we expect the passing game to be more prevalent, but there's no sense in getting cute in week 1. Start your number 1 players.
Exactly. Jeff, I see your question here. I'm gonna acknowledge it, and then I'm gonna tell you that we've got a question coming up almost exactly like this already queued up here, and we'll get to this part when we get to that part. But Jeff's saying that he waited on tight end and walked away with just Hunter Henry, looking like he may have to stream tight end as the season progresses. Agreed, or is Henry a legit tight end one? We'll get to that one here when we get to that one. Because I've already got one queued up for almost the exact question. So we will get to that one, I promise you. All righty. So another question coming in. Jimmy over on YouTube. Would you trade Joe Mixon for J.K. Dobbins and Dameon Pierce? Mixon and Javonte Williams are my backs. 12 team half point PPR. Absolutely not. I'm sticking with Javonte and Mixon at that point.
Cosign. I think both of us really, really like Joe Mixon this year. Again, I drafted him in the home league. I also drafted him in the work league the next night. I think he has a extremely high upside in this offense. I think we could see him finish inside the top 5 in RBs. Again, I am not a huge believer in J.K. Dobbins. As much as I like Dameon Pierce, it's not worth giving up Joe Mixon.
Right. And my love for Dameon Pierce is well documented all the way, starting back in like June. Where I started kind of getting on that train and really riding that one through and going that route. But on our ranking show, on our tier show, I called for Joe Mixon to be the 3rd running back overall to finish the season, right? Like there's Dameon Pierce is, I think where he was getting drafted early on when you could get him for an 8th, 9th, 10th round pick. He had its incredible upside, and I've got him finishing closer to running back 20 on this season when it's all said and done. And there's a big gap between RB3 and RB20 on that one. So no, I am standing pat with Joe Mixon on that one pretty easily. All right, next question coming up. Mr. Mars over on YouTube. Do I start Dawson Knox or Hayden Hurst? Week 1 looks like his lineup is Herbert, Jones, Ramondre Stevenson, Jamar Chase, Mike Evans, either Knox or Hurst. It looks like he's got either Julio or JK in his flex, the Bills defense, and Matt Gay, the kicker for the Rams, in his kicker spot. So first of all, I'm going to tell you to start Julio on that one. Unless, there has to be I want to see J.K. Dobbins hit the field and play healthy before I'm going to put him in there as a flex, or as an RB1 or 2 on my roster. As far as that one goes, right? You drafted Dawson. You had to have spent much higher capital on Dawson Knox than Hayden Hurst. And while Hayden Hurst has a pretty good matchup there, as far as I think he'll eat and he'll get some targets on this one because he's playing that Pittsburgh defense there. And I could see that getting some run there. Dawson Knox, I think will still get some run on that one. And I'm probably going to take my higher shot on the guy that I drafted higher to start week 1 on this one.
Yeah, I'd agree. I do think it's close. I like Hayden Hurst more than most people, but I do think that Knox is the play. Again, week 1, we're not trying to get cute. We need to understand what these guys are going to be doing here in this 2022 season, and how their usage and offensive philosophies are going to kind of break down. So go with Knox. You drafted him first for a reason.
Yep. Absolutely, right? Like you drafted Hayden Hurst as a backup if he catches fire. And we both think that Hayden Hurst will, by a good distance, outperform his ADP when it's all said and done this
Absolutely.
season. But week 1, it's a lot like week 1's a lot like fantasy playoffs, right? Like don't get cute. You drafted these guys. You felt really comfortable taking that player at that time in that deal. And short of, unless you drafted a month ago, and a lot has changed in that offense. A lot of reports have come out, due to the preseason, due to an injury, things like that. If you drafted recently, take that guy that you drafted higher, right? Like you drafted him with that ADP for a reason. And the other guy that you drafted later, you drafted him later for a reason there as well, right? So stick with your guys and just don't get too cute with it. So let's go ahead and we're going to head over to another question coming in. This one from Kev_91-100. Julio or AJ Green, help me out. I currently have AJ on his fantasy, but Julio just got dropped. That's an easy Julio Jones smash the swap out on the waiver wire for me.
Yeah, I think I try and catch lightning in a bottle here. Like I think Julio is going to be pretty active here these first couple weeks as Godwin does continue to try and get back to full strength. Right, the Bucs aren't going to force it, right? The week 1 matchup against Dallas, repeat of the week 1 matchup from last year. That was so fun and entertaining. I think Julio could see some run in that as him and Mike Evans have been the 2 healthy receivers through camp. So I think that's what Tom Brady's familiar with. And I think that's what he's going to go to here against Dallas in week 1. So I would play Julio over AJ Green.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only that, I do believe that you'll see kind of just piling onto that as far as Julio, hoopla on this one. Go with Julio. Tom Brady's line up the middle is not near what it was last year. That offensive line got beat up pretty good in this offseason here with some retiring, with some injuries going on there. So Tom Brady is going to be looking to get the ball out quickly. And I think that's going to benefit Julio Jones more than just about anybody else on this one, because I think you're going to see him. They're going to slide him in a little bit there and have him playing a lot of more short and intermediate routes on this one. And he'll be kind of that safety blanket over the middle kind of guy there. So I think there could be some big upside there, especially starting that off until they really make sure that line is solidified there as well. All right, another question coming in from YouTube's Jack Ashmore over there says he went wide receiver heavy this year and effed up because Patterson is now his RB2 because of his mistake. And this one here, I realize isn't much of a question, but it was still enough in there that I wanted to address it just simply from the standpoint that, Cordell Patterson isn't necessarily a bad option to have on your fantasy roster as an RB2. It isn't great. Don't get me wrong, but it's not horrible from the standpoint that if you went wide receiver heavy and if you pulled that strategy off and you did that very well, there's somebody else in your league that is running back heavy and wide receiver light. So there's no reason that you couldn't take one of your heavy wide receivers and go out and get a running back too on it. Like, you can make some of those moves. You can make some of those trades. There's enough value out there as well. Like Darrell Henderson is a guy that a lot of guys didn't look at, didn't pick up, was going in the 11th, 12th round a lot of times. And that's a guy that I think is going to have a pretty good season overall. And he's going to get more work than I think people think of. So that could be a guy you go get with some depth. And then you could look at potentially targeting some other, like a Rashad Penny type of player there, and see if you couldn't acquire him as well.
Yeah, I think that's an option. Kenneth Gainwell is another option there for the Eagles. You can stash away one of the Niners running backs, Jeff Wilson. If you're looking for immediate help, you want to grab Jeff Wilson, right? Undrafted guy, someone that you can stick on that roster to kind of help give you some balance. I would love to see the rest of this roster, right?
Yes.
Because no one walks away from a draft without an area that they would like to upgrade in one way, form, or fashion, right? It's too hard to do. So if you got a premium tight end and you got premium wide receivers because you say you went heavy, and a quarterback in those top two tiers, right? Something, Matt Stafford and higher. I mean, I think everybody kind of knows what I mean by that, but someone in those top 7 quarterbacks, 8 quarterbacks, being deficient at running back, yeah, you want to fix it, but it's not the end of the world, right? You can find ways around that. Keep an eye on the waiver wire, right? There's so many first-round busts, and especially with running backs, right? Guys get hurt all the time. So if you're on a waiver system, be very diligent that you're not wasting your waiver priority,
right?
If it keeps. Now, if it resets every week, spend it if you got it, homie. Like, it's all good. But if you stay at 1, if you don't use it until you use it, be diligent about that. Don't pick up a kicker and waste your waiver priority, right? And if you're on a fab, that's perfectly fine, but make sure you're doing your homework before you blow a ton of fab just to grab a running back, right? 1 week does not make a season.
Right.
So
and
be diligent.
And to that point, when we get to this tight end question there, what you're just talking about, I will drive the point home even more so on that one.
Right.
So.
Another guy who, really unpopular name. Look at Rex Burkhead.
Yep.
Another guy who probably went undrafted. We all are anointing Dameon Pierce like the second coming of the best RB ever right now, right? He is the buzz name as far as running backs in fantasy goes. But what happens if he comes out and puts 2 on the ground right
or
away?
Has issue in pass pro?
And
Say he misses a couple of blitzes coming through there. That's an easy way for a rookie running back to see his way onto the bench. Rex Burkhead's proven that he's good in pass pro and he's got good hands. And in PPR and half PPR leagues, he could help you out there.
Absolutely. And Lovey doesn't levy rookie players, right? He is an old school coach. And so if Pierce shows that he's not ready and can't kind of step up to the limelight of being the number 1 running back, there's a good chance that Lovey will kind of switch things around and not bench him, but play Burkhead more and eat into that timeshare. So there's another guy to kind of look at. So I think you have some options, right? I don't think you need to hit the panic button. Is it going to take a lot of diligence on the waiver wire? Absolutely. Is it going to take some trade activity? Quite possibly. But I don't think you effed up as bad as you're saying that you did.
Right. Yep. And that was the whole reason I put that one in there. The season is young, my friend, and there's a lot of options. And until you are mathematically eliminated from the playoffs of your fantasy league, it's still game on, and you got to go, right? I've started seasons 0-5 and still won the championship on that one back. This has been several years at this point, but it can happen and it does happen. You just have to be diligent with it. All right, next question coming in. Mike over on the YouTube, Patterson or Singletary from the Bills. I'm assuming that's a week 1, and I'm assuming that's Cordero Patterson, Devin Singletary, week 1 start. Who you going with?
I'm gonna go Singletary. I'm interested to see if these Bills found the secret success of running the ball a little bit more to help make Josh Allen more efficient. I don't like this Atlanta matchup in week 1 against the Saints, guys. I just don't. So outside of Kyle Pitts, I really am fading every other Atlanta player at all costs. Now, like the guy before, if he's your RB2 and you got to play him, you got to play him. That's just the shakes of it. But in this situation, I'm playing Singletary.
Yeah, I would co-sign on that one as well. Part of the difference that you start looking at some of those, even when they've got tough matchups, look at the overall offense on those things, right? Like the Bills over and under is projected to be 52.5 points on that one. And we're going to get to the Bills and the Rams as far as the Thursday night matchup go and give us some of our breakdown on that one here in just a moment. But there's a world in which the Bills score a lot more points than the Falcons do on that one. And more points tend to mean more touchdowns, and touchdowns tend to get distributed a little bit more. So the more touchdowns scored, the more opportunity a player has to do it. And so that's some of the tiebreaker in there as well for me. So looking at it, Elijah Moore, this one here, Kevin, he already answered his question. He hit me up right as he came through, but I'm going to give the outcome of it. On the Elijah Moore video, he was asking, should he trade Russell Gage for him straight up? I told him to tune in, and he told me that he made the trade already, and what he got for it was Cortland Sutton for Russell Gage straight up, and then asked if he made a good trade, and I said, absolutely.
Yes.
Kudos
to you.
Yes.
Getting Cortland Sutton for Russell Gage is damn near highway robbery before the season even starts. So Good on you. I really like Sutton. I think he's going to finish top 15. I was just looking at our home league roster right here. I know it's hard to see, right? But I have Sutton, and he's
and you got him late.
I got him late. I got, especially in a home league based in Colorado, right? All of us Colorado guys, and we've moved around, but getting Sutton in the 9th for our home league is absolutely ridiculous because Judy went 3 or 4 rounds earlier.
Yeah.
So I felt I got a hell of a deal on Cortland Sutton. So I'm running him and Jefferson as my 1-2 at the moment here at receiver.
Absolutely. Alrighty. So we did have a question coming in over on the YouTube as well. Tyler saying thoughts on Montgomery. Thoughts on Montgomery are yes. Absolutely just yes on that one for me this season. He's got the easiest running back schedule out there. He's going to see a ton of volume. Just yes. He will do good for you.
Cosign.
Yep. So, Tyler, I don't know if you were looking for, much more deep analysis on that one, but we're both fans of David Montgomery this year, and he should do well for you. Terry chiming in there. Terry, welcome in. I got to your question a little bit ago on the live stream there as well. Good seeing you in here. Glenn over on YouTube asking thoughts on Javonte Williams. What do you think here?
I think you're going to see like a 65-35 split, leaning towards Javonte over Melvin Gordon. He's another one of those young, sexy names in fantasy, right? Like I want to see how it looks in this Nathaniel Hackett offense. I know that he wants to run the ball. I trust that Russell Wilson will put him in good position to run the ball. This is his season for the taking, right? This could be a big breakout season for him. I love the way he runs. I love that he's aggressive. I love that he always fights for those extra yards, that he's falling forward, right? I am hoping that he gets his red zone opportunities and they don't just turn around and hand it to Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon is a proven commodity inside the 5-yard line, so it is hard to go away from that. But I want to see Javonte develop in that aspect of his game as well. So I really like him. If you got him as your RB2, I think that's a very good choice. He's absolutely going to finish inside the top inside the top 20. So I think you'll be happy with that as the season goes on.
Absolutely. Yeah. Javonte is going to do very well. I've got him right around 1,000 yards on the ground there. I think he will take over the passing work on this one, but the red zone does scare me a little bit. And I think that he is going to have some of his ceiling capped a little bit on this one, because where do running backs see a ton of wear and tear? Where are they hit constantly? Where are the hits harder at? It's down inside the red zone. And I think that you'll see the Broncos roll Melvin Gordon out there more so on that one and save Javonte for down the road a little bit, especially with them having that young nucleus there and being able to be kind of in the window that they're in there. So I could see that one there. Terry, yes, we did answer your question earlier. You had the trade question, the two-parter. Should you trade Elijah Mitchell and Hollywood? Those questions. We said no, we would not trade either one of those ones. We would stand pat with your roster on that one. Jeff asking, Kyler is my QB. Am I doomed? No, I think
You're great until the playoffs.
Yep. Yep. But I think Kyler will still be all right there, right? Like, this is one of those, Kyler's had late season injuries on this one. But Kyler getting DeAndre Hopkins back in the back half, that should help you out there as well. Glenn did say that Javonte is his running back too. Terry said that he ended up trading Mitchell and Hollywood for Penny, Pierce, and Gabe Davis. His bench consists of Gibson, Edwards, Stevenson, Penny, Pierce, Gabe, and Bateman. That's not a bad bench that you have there. I kind of like the upside that you would have gotten with Hollywood over Gabe Davis, and I think that I like the running potential with Mitchell more than.
I think you're going to end up playing Bateman over Gabe Davis a lot. Just because I do think that he's going to see a ton of targets from Lamar this year. So other than that, you're probably going to be playing a little bit of just carousel, which isn't a bad thing, but it's just something that you're going to have to be mindful of this season, right? Plugging the right running backs in. Gibson, cross your fingers and hope that he has a really good start to the season, like the first 2-3 weeks.
Yes.
And then check back in with us, because I'm probably going to tell you to try and unload him, but things could change.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? He may show up well enough that he kind of earns himself out of the doghouse that he's put himself in here over there in Washington, but it's going to take some heavy work here to start the season, I do believe. Kevin, this was the big one that came in on this one. This was in reference to Hunter Henry. So I know that we had some questions earlier about Hunter Henry. Jeffrey in the chat had these questions here as well, but HamLover17 over on YouTube. This was in response to, Hunter Henry being his only tight end and everybody else in the league going tight end heavy. So he said that is bleak. He means some guys have 3 tight ends on the roster. Waivers are guys like Gerald Everett, Tyler Conklin, Noah Fant. How do you effectively call your shot on tight end streaming week to week? What are you looking for? It seems like these lower tiered tight ends, you're happy if they catch a TD and you're sad if they don't. TDs are really difficult to protect with these role players. Do you guys maybe have a video on that? So I'm going to answer the very last question. No, we don't have a video on that, but we'll answer kind of your question here, as well as the fact that going on our website tomorrow, there will be an article kind of walking through some of the research and analysis that I'll break down here a little bit on this one here as well. But Kevin, what are your thoughts and what do you kind of look for? So Hunter Henry, let's start there, because we also had Jeff that had the question. He's only tight end on the roster. Is it time to hit the panic button?
No, God, no. It's not time to hit the panic button. It's okay. You waited on tight end. This is the decision that you made, and now we're just going to move on and adjust with it. Having Hunter Henry isn't a bad option. I don't love him this week against the Dolphins, not to put salt in your wound, but I don't love him against the Dolphins this week. But the Broncos have been historically bad against the tight end, and now Noah Fant, a guy that used to play for them, they're going to be going up against. I think Gino's going to be dumping it off to Noah Fant a lot, so I don't mind that as an option. Tyler Conklin is a great sleeper candidate for tight end. A lot of really, really good reports coming out before Zach Wilson got hurt. So I do think that Conklin's production is tied with Zach Wilson being healthy. So maybe week 1 isn't the option for Tyler Conklin, but as you see the Zach Wilson thing, it's still up in the air whether he plays or not. And as Wilson gets healthy and back in the swing of things, I expect Tyler Conklin to be a much larger part of this Jets offense than anybody realizes. Another name out there that may or may not be on your waiver wire is David Njoku.
Yep. Or Harrison Bryant.
Harrison Bryant, yeah. Njoku specifically, I really like here to start the season. Jacoby Brissett loves feeding his tight ends. So I think outside of Amari Cooper, Njoku's probably going to see the second most targets on that team here for the first few weeks until the rest of the receiving core really establishes themselves. I think that Evan Ingram is a possible name that might still be on your waiver wire as well, because it's Jacksonville and people love to hate on the guy. I think he's another guy that could see some decent production week in and week out. So it is not doom and gloom. I think there are some options here. I think that with the Patriots' offensive woes here to start, or all reports of that we've been getting, I think I might lean towards Noah Fant as the guy this week over Hunter Henry. Season long, maybe that script flips a little bit, but there's some options here, right? And I'm going to keep rambling for a second. Part two of the question, right? How do you determine this, right? How do we look at what tight ends to stream? What are we going up against? So the long answer is, there is a lot of homework involved, right? You're looking at, opposing teams' defensive statistics against tight end, right? PFF does a lot of stuff and a lot of breakdowns about this. And yes, you pay for their service, but if you're willing to invest in your fantasy football in general, it's a great tool to use, right? There's some other tools out there that work just as well. Obviously, everyone kind of has rankings from Yahoo to ESPN to CBS to every podcast that's out there. So, I mean, there's tons of rankings to go off on, but part of it's that, and part of it's quarterback play, right? Elite quarterbacks outside of Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson don't use their tight end as much, right? We see them drive the ball down the field, and the tight ends are not as much of a focal point in the offense. Quarterbacks who are mid to lower tiered do tend to use their tight ends a bit more, right? They're their security blanket. They're the short yardage guys. They can dump it out on a 3-step drop. And yeah, you're gaining 3 or 4 or 5 yards, but it's better than taking the loss on the play. So that's all part of it that kind of gets jumbled up in this mess also. And things become more clear after the first 2, 3, 4 weeks of the season, because you see offensive philosophies and you can start to pick up on trends. So kind of a long-winded answer, but there's a lot that goes into figuring out what tight ends to stream on any given week, and is what you have on your roster a better or lesser play than what's on the waiver wire that you can pick up and kind of bounce back and forth between.
Absolutely, right? Like knowing the matchups, like a couple of years ago, it was a real easy thing to stream tight ends. It was whatever tight end was playing the Arizona Cardinals defense that week, that was who you did. It was 2 years ago, but like it was crazy. The Arizona Cardinals were giving up, on average, like 5-6 more points per game than the league average to opposing tight ends there. So you'll see some trends start making their way through, especially when you start doing some of that homework on those things to help do that. But here's some interesting statistics. So I started doing some homework on some of that stuff there. And 56 tight ends last year finished inside the top 12 on a week-to-week basis, right? 56 different tight ends there. And the large majority of those were off the waiver wires. So when you go out and you draft some of these premium tight ends, right? The Mark Andrews, the Travis Kelce's, the Pitts, the Wallers, the Kittles of the world, right? You are typically drafting more of a set it and forget it type of tight end. You're drafting those guys at a premium to try and just be a little bit more consistent at the position. And realistically, even the last couple of seasons, right? Last year, Dalton Schultz finished as tight end number 3 on the season. He was undrafted to start the season. Year before that, Robert Tonyan was finished tight end, I believe, number 3 again, undrafted. The year before that, Darren Waller finished tight end number 3 on the season. Guess what? He was also undrafted. So those, you have a steady trend of being able to pick up a light tight end and be able to do that. Right now, some of that comes down to, what does the opportunities look like? What does that offense look like? So doing some of that homework on that, seeing what quarterbacks have a tendency to check the ball down more so than and quarterbacks that tend to drive the ball down the field, right? So, guys, there's a big reason that Kevin and I both just mentioned David Njoku and Harrison Bryant. And that reason is Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby Brissett is a quarterback that will check the ball down far more than he does drive the ball down the field. He is the starting quarterback in Cleveland the first 11 games. So do not be surprised if you see those tight ends get a lot more volume than you would necessarily expect out of that one. So, again, I got an article coming out tomorrow on that one that'll be up on the Good Old Boys website that'll dive even deeper into some of those other stats and some of those other things there as well. So, Jeff has a last question. He says, drop Sky Moore for Hayden Hurst, tight ends Hunter, wide receiver core is Pittman, Mike Williams, DK, Tony, Sky Moore. I don't think you necessarily need to make that move yet. Hayden Hurst will still be on the waiver wire here. Probably the next, couple of weeks would be my guess on this one. He's going to be a guy that you can probably stream week to week on that one. So I don't know that I'm necessarily going to go full on that one yet.
I think no.
I mean, you've got the depth of wide receiver you can do.
I think I would. Like if Hurst is the guy that you've identified and you want a piece of that Cincinnati offense, I think Hurst is going to be more relevant in the first half of the season than Sky Moore is, right? Sky Moore might have one game where he, goes roughshod and has, even 86 yards and 2 touchdowns, but most likely he's going to be doing that on your bench, right? Like you're not going to start Sky Moore over Pittman at any reason. You're not going to be starting him over Mike Williams or DK. So he's a nice piece to have for bye weeks, sure, but the wide receiver is so deep you can kind of stream in and out of that. So I'm okay with making this right now just because you have enough depth at wide receiver. You don't need a rookie guy. Yes, it's Kansas City, but I just don't see the target share going to Sky Moore. Like you're going to be very touchdown dependent on him anyway. You're probably going to need Hurst as kind of that counter to Hunter Henry more often than you're going to need Sky Moore over DK Metcalf.
Yes. Okay. You talked me into it. Let's do it. Panthers defense or Browns or Titans defense versus the Giants. As Flexi would be playing Jalen Waddle over Dodmans, Edmonds, Ayuk. Standard scoring. I'm going with the Titans defense on that one. And yeah, I'm going to play Jalen Waddle in that one, I think, too.
Yeah, cosign.
Okay. Glenn saying he has Njoku on the bench. He's going to see how that works out in Cleveland before I think about starting. Yeah, if you can sit on that, absolutely. Ray Gamer, rest of my lineup is set with Stafford. So this is back into that defensive question. Rest of the lineup set with Stafford, Adams, Pittman, Eckler, Williams. Kicker is Nick Folk for now, but does extend Hopkins, Jake Elliott, and he'll keep his eye on Rodrigo. Yeah, I mean, the kickers are a streaming thing for me anyway, so it just kind of.
I'd rather have Dustin Hopkins than Nick Folk.
There you go. Go with that one there too. Alrighty. Ray Gamer saying he subbed to last season. Nice to see you guys have been doing again. Hope you've been doing good. Ray, we can't complain. Thanks for tuning in. Always a pleasure seeing y'all in the chats, especially show to show on this one. Thoughts on Brait as a sneaky week 1 stream? Yeah, I don't necessarily mind that one. I don't know. I think Julio is going to get more of the targets that folks are expecting, kind of the vacated Gronk targets there, but Brait could easily be a sneaky tight end stream.
I would rather, if you're going to do that, I'd rather do it for DFS than I would for season long.
Yeah, I think so. Mo Alley Cox is a guy I think I'd actually rather, if I'm going to stream that one, Mo Alley Cox is probably a guy I'd rather go over Cameron Brait week 1. Easier matchup, all that kind of stuff. Alrighty. I think that's all the questions that we've got in here. Guys, if I missed one out there, my apologies. Go ahead and throw it in here, and we'll get to it. And we're going to go ahead and kind of move on to the next segments here. And the next part we've got is we're going to get into some predictions and some divisional winners. And Kevin, with this one, I think we're just going to go through this one, and we're just going to call our shot on who you think's winning the division, and we'll move on to the next kind of topic there. So first up, NFC East, who you got?
Bills.
NFC East.
Oh, NFC. Cowboys.
Cowboys. Okay, Kevin calling the shot on the repeat divisional champion. First time since 2004. I like it. It's a little spicy. I'm going to take Philly on that one. I think they've made a lot of upgrades, and Alex also taking Philadelphia, but he said that he guesses and he thinks it's a gross division. So that's a lot of fun there. All righty. NFC North. I'm just going to save everybody the time here. We all called for Green Bay to repeat their NFC South. We all called for Tampa Bay to repeat their NFC West. Again, consensus. We're going to take the Rams. AFC East, we all called for Buffalo. AFC North, this is where we had a little bit of difference here. Kevin, what's your thoughts here?
I went Cincinnati here, right? I don't think that another Super Bowl run is in the cards for them. Their schedule is much tougher this year, but they really bolstered their offensive line, which I think is only going to help Joe Mixon, Joe Burrow, and Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Hayden Hurst, right? All the offensive weapons that we've been talking about. And I think that defense really grew up in their postseason run last year, right? Like I do expect them to be able to build off of that. Their defensive line is very underrated. So I like their defensive line, but Hubbard is kind of the anchor there of that defensive line. Logan Wilson there at middle linebacker is a tackling machine. I really like him. Another guy I picked for our home league for one of my IDP spots. And the secondary I do think kind of grew up a lot. So I'm going with Cincy to repeat here.
I like it. Kevin called for Baltimore. I'm also calling for
Baltimore. I did not call for Baltimore, you liar.
I'm sorry, Alex. Alex called for Baltimore. My apologies, sir. And I'm looking at the show sheet, and it's all muddled there a little bit. But Alex is calling for Baltimore. I'm also taking Baltimore. You're taking Cincinnati to win the AFC North. That leads us to the AFC South. We're all calling for the Indianapolis Colts to win that one. And the AFC West, how dare you guys go away from the Denver Broncos here. You know that all we were missing was a quarterback. So that's who I'm calling. I'm calling the hometown Broncos to win the AFC West on this one. Alex called Kansas City, and your pick, sir.
I'm sticking with Kansas City. They're the champs until they're not. And as the fan in me, yes, thinks the Broncos can win it. There's a path to win it. But this division was really tough, right?
Uh-huh.
And instead of thinking of the dark horse and, this is the year, yes, I took the easy way out and I went with chalk, but you're the champ until you're not. It was that way when Peyton was in town for the Broncos, and it is that way with Mahomes in Kansas City. Until someone can step up and knock them off that pedestal, it is their division to lose. They got to prove it. They got to prove it to me.
Yeah, I like it. I still like Broncos better on this one, but that's something.
Well, right, wrong, or different. But real quick, the Colts. We all picked the Colts to win the South.
Yes.
If the Colts do not win the division this year or next year, do you just have to completely blow it up?
Yeah, I think you do.
Like you tried, right? You thought Carson Wentz was what you needed and didn't even make the playoffs, right? Because you lose to Jacksonville. You bring in Matt Ryan to have that veteran presence, a contending caliber pedigree. I can't say championship caliber, right? Because they
28-3.
28-3. So I can't say championship caliber pedigree, but he is a former MVP. So you bring in a former MVP, a guy who knows how to run an offense. You give him an offensive line that's better than anything he's seen in the last 7-8 years in Atlanta, and some young, youthful weapons that he is used to handling between seeing Kyle Pitts and Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones. And not only to mention, he had Roddy White and he had Tony Gonzalez. He's played with a lot of talent. He knows how to use skill position players, and probably the best run game that Matt Ryan has ever seen in his career, with Jonathan Taylor standing right there behind him. So
yes,
if they can't get it done, I'm afraid Jim Irsay is going to have to just drop the stick of dynamite and boom, blow the whole damn thing.
Yeah, because I mean, there's no reason on paper. They look incredibly good. They look incredibly stout on both sides of the ball. And if you can't get it done, right, like there's some pieces missing somewhere along the lines that you just can't bring that group together and gel and win. So I agree with you. I think if they can't get it done this year or next year, they've got to go into a rebuild mode. Which at least at that point you've got plenty of good pieces that you can kind of try and move and shuffle the deck again for you. So. Alrighty, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get into some more of the call your shots in the the conference championship games, the Super Bowl winner, the MVP. But first, we're going to head over and we're going to talk about some trophy smack. So here at the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast, we are all about cash and trophies. And now you can get a completely customized trophy for your league at Trophy Smack. You want a championship belt or a winner's ring? Trophy Smack has you covered. Check it out. The link is in the description on the podcast and on the YouTube channel, trophysmack.com, and hit that link that the boys are giving you. Great opportunity to get your cash. Spend your cash, get some
on
trophies.
The trophies. Yep.
Exactly.
Spend your cash on that trophy.
Exactly. So, Kevin, that leads us here into the conference championships. Call your shot. So, who you got meeting in the conference championship for the AFC and the NFC?
NFC, I have Tampa Bay and the Rams. It just feels like Tom Brady's swan song. It's hard to imagine him going out anywhere but on top. It's going to be difficult, but I think that he can get his team back to this position, and I think that they can learn from last year's failures. And then on the AFC side, I have Buffalo, which I think it's pretty chalky again for everybody, but I have Baltimore coming in the wild card spot. So, yes, I have Cincinnati winning the division, but I do have Baltimore getting to the AFC Championship game.
I like it. I have got on the AFC side of things, I'm going to ride with the Broncos again. Broncos are going to make it to the AFC Championship game, playing the Colts this time around. Yep, that's a little spice right there for you. And then on the NFC side of things, not quite as chalky here, right? But it's still close to being pretty chalky. I've got the Packers and Tampa Bay playing on this one. Really, I thought for a minute we might see the Packers and the Niners play on this one, but I just don't trust the rookie quarterback to get the Niners to a conference championship game on this one.
But he's not a rookie anymore.
I'm sorry, a first-year starter. My apologies. Alex called for the Buffalo and Denver to meet on the AFC side, and the Rams and the Buccaneers to meet on the NFC side there. So Super Bowl winners, we've got our Super Bowl matchups. Alex is calling for Tampa Bay, Buffalo. Your thoughts here?
Same. That's the matchup I want to see, right? And that's just what I'm going with. Tampa Bay, Buffalo. I think it's crazy that. No, I don't think it's crazy. Kansas City will find a way to choke that out. But I want to see Josh Allen and Tom Brady kind of go at it one more time and make it for all the marbles, and then see Tom Brady right off in the sunset.
Right. See if you can really see the passing of the torch and the young gun get the old buck there, and kind of see how that one goes. Again, I'm full in on the Broncos this year, and I'm calling for the Broncos to make it there. They're going to play Tom Brady and the Buccaneers here, and if the Russell Wilson gets down inside the one, I don't think he's going to try and pass it again this time. So I think we'll see a running play there.
Juggernaut Javante.
Exactly. So that's how I've got that one kind of flat out there. Let's go ahead and talk MVP. What do you got MVP wise?
Josh Allen should have won it last year. I think he's going to win it this year at the helm with that beautiful Buffalo offense. Again, I think that they're going to run the ball a little bit better, which is going to help his efficiencies. And I think he's going to finally kind of be able to bring that MVP home, because he should have got it last year over Aaron Rodgers.
Yes, I very much agree with that. I've also got Josh Allen as the MVP. I know a lot of folks out there are calling for the Justin Herbert MVP ascension here. And I've seen it constantly where people are calling the shots thinking that he's going to throw 50 plus touchdowns. I don't know how he does it in that division. Like, that is a tough defensive division. As much as the offenses are there, the defenses are also very, very good. And I don't know that I'm going to see him touch 50 tutties this year. Alex,
he'll get 6 against the Raiders.
True. It's true. And then still lose the game.
That's neither here nor there.
That's true. Tom Brady is who Alex is going with. So I think Alex is calling for a full-on swung song for TB12 there on that one. Before we get to our Thursday matchup, which is where we're headed, I did see one more question come in over there. Thoughts on Albert Okwuegbunam? Should he stick with him at tight end? Terry R is asking. Albert O is a streaming tight end for me this year, right? I'm going to play the matchups and I'm going to move on, but I'm not going to have him as a set it and forget it type of tight end.
Yeah, I don't have any problem playing him in week 1 against Seattle, right? As they're kind of retooling this team a little bit. It's going to be he's still going to be a little bit touchdown dependent, right? Like, Russ does typically spread around a little bit. Like, he's never focused in on one tight end outside of the first Jimmy Graham season, right? When he was in Seattle, where he kind of really fed him the ball. Outside of that, it's been a couple to Luke Wilson, a couple to Gerald Everett, right? A couple to, Joe Schmo who came off the street. Like, it's not really a focal point. So streamer, yes, I like Greg Dulcich more than I like Albert O, but Greg is on the IR to start the season. So Albert O is your option. And because of lack of options in Denver for pass catching tight ends, I think you could do a lot worse.
Yes. Mr. Nick on YouTube asking, what's up? What's up, Mr. Nick? Thanks for tuning in here. And Will's up saying, don't forget about Daniel Bellinger. I'm pretty sure everybody else forgot about Daniel Bellinger as well. Any thoughts on Daniel Bellinger that we need to address?
Deep sleeper. I mean, right? I don't think there's anything wrong with him, but completely unproven. You're not really sure what you're going to get, how that's going to, if he's going to be like the main tight end in the passing game there in New York, or if he's just going to be an extra piece. We'll see. If you're a believer in Daniel Jones, you should be a believer in Daniel Bellinger, just because Jones is going to need him. But if you think he's going to sputter down, I wouldn't expect anything more than, tight end 25, 26, kind of what you've seen out of Evan Ingram here the past few seasons.
Wheels Up saying he allows you to fit in a stock I really like, which is Justin Jefferson and Aaron Jones. Are we making a comparison between Daniel Bellinger and both Justin Jefferson and Aaron Jones there? Is that what I'm reading?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. Wheels Up. Might have to. Yeah. We're simpletons here, buddy. You got to elaborate a little bit more.
Exactly. So we'll provide the analysis. We just need the question framed up there a little bit easier for us to digest. So, alrighty, let's go ahead and head on over into our Thursday night preview. And you've got the Bills and the Rams playing each other here. First Thursday night game, you've got the Bills favored by 2.5 points, and the over/under set at 52.5 points. We're going to hit our Thursday night matchup, and then we're going to get into a fun little game that we started playing last year called Touchdown Dance over on Monkey Knife Fight there. And if you go to Monkey Knife Fight, make sure that you're clicking typing in the code GOBFF, and we'll touch a little bit more on that here in a little bit. But Kevin, what are your thoughts here on the game breakdown? Who you got and what you think the outcome is going to be?
I'm having LA take this one. I like the over. I think they're gonna hope, I guess, drop the banner, hoist the trophy, whatever they're going to be doing there in LA. But I still like this LA team, guys. Like, doing a little bit different on the offensive line, but they have so much veteran leadership all the way across, right? You have Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp kind of leading that offense through. Cam Akers is completely clear of the injury list, which I do find interesting and a little bit reassuring. So it'll be interesting to see how that works as far as the run game goes. And then you have the newly acquired Allen Robinson there on offense. So I like that. I think Aaron Donald up the middle is still going to be a battle. They're going to put Josh Allen to test, right, and make him kind of use his legs a little bit, see if they found this running game that they alluded to in the preseason to be able to keep the pass rush off of them a little bit. I think it's going to be a fun game. I think it is going to be tightly contested, but I do have the Rams covering and the over. I like the over. Lots of points here to open the season.
Yeah. Alex also was calling for the Rams to cover and the over to happen.
Oh, shit. Now we know it's not going to happen.
Well, before he put that in there, I called for the Bills to cover and the under. I see this one being, this one's gonna come down to it. I think we're gonna see a 24 to 27 type of game in favor of the Bills. Like, this one is going to be very, very tightly contested on this one. It's going to come down to the wire. There's going to be a bunch of points scored there, but I think that you're going to see two good defensive teams ultimately hold the line and keep that thing right around 50 points. I just don't see them getting up and over on that one there. So I'm going to call for the Bills to cover, the under to happen, and some good stuff coming through there as well.
I hope we see 45-42.
Yeah, that would be even funner. That would be almost a basketball score there.
Right.
So I like it.
That's what I'm hoping for. I don't think that's going to happen, but my fandom for fantasy is 55-42 and just see outrageous Star Wars plays all over the field.
Right. You're hoping for the what is that, North Carolina and Appalachian State remix right there.
Jeez, yeah.
All righty. A couple of questions coming in here before we get into our monkey knife fight game. So we're going to hit these up real quick. AJ Green or Julio? It's Julio all day long. We answered that one a little bit ago in the mailbox there. Wheels Up simplified that for a little bit. No one knew who Adam Troutman was until it was Rainbow Trout season neither. So we have to go on some of these lower on a leprechaun plays so that we can get to two guys we like to win the gold. Absolutely. Right. Like Wheels Up, we've got a article coming out on the website tomorrow called Battleship Tight End is the title of it. It'll be up sometime tomorrow, probably in the afternoon. And it goes through streaming the tight end position and talks about a lot of different options, a lot of different plays that you can make when it comes to streaming the tight end that will ultimately lead to a victory on that one. In fact, looking back at it, if you streamed the position perfect last year, you could have scored more more points streaming the tight end position through week 12 than Travis Kelce scored all year. Crazy, I know, but the research was done, and it's all in that article there. Axis Myth is saying Mooney and a 6th for Michael Thomas and 11th. Who wins the trade? 2-keeper PPR.
Mooney.
Yeah. It's not even close.
Yeah, Mooney by a landslide.
Yeah. The draft picks really seal that one for me, right? Like, I think you'll see Michael Thomas and Darnell Mooney finish close to each other in total fantasy points this year. But so at that point, you're getting a five round bump for Mooney. Yeah. So absolutely. Matt Stafford or Jameis Winston? Matt Stafford. I realize that there's some injury concerns, things like that. I think Jameis Winston has a very, very good season, but I've got Jameis as a fringe quarterback 1. I've got Matt Stafford kind of QB 11, I believe, is where my final ranking on him was.
Yeah, I'd go with that. And even if it's, micro, even if it's just for week 1, as much as I like the Saints over the Falcons, I think the Saints are going to find a way to run the ball, right? Like, they're going to be using Mark
Ingram and
Alvin Kamara, and Jameis. The success of Jameis Winston is not going to be on his right arm. Now, you still want him to throw for, 3,800 yards and, in a perfect world, 27 touchdowns, right? Like, that's kind of where he's going to be at. Matt Stafford, his ceiling is 5,200 yards and 50 touchdowns.
Right. Trey Lance or Joe Burrow week 1?
Burrow.
I think I get it. Yep, Burrow. Walking away with that one. All right, Kevin. So we're going to get into our Monkey Knife Fight touchdown dance. Guys, you can join us playing Monkey Knife Fight over there on monkeyknifefight.com. Use the promo code GOBFF in order to play this DFS contest with us. And so the way the touchdown dance works is you pick 3 players from this game and you call a shot on what the total tight ends or total touchdowns you think will be, and what kind of prize that you're looking for. Obviously, the higher the touchdown amount, the greater the prize on that one. So the prize pools are more than 2.5 touchdowns is a 2-time prize, more than 3.5 touchdowns is a 3-time prize, and more than 4.5 cumulative touchdowns between your 3 players is a 6-time prize. So Kevin, who are the 3 guys that you're looking to get here? Call your 3 guys and call your prize shot.
Cooper Kupp, Allen Robinson, Stephon Diggs. I'm going for the 2-time. I think there's 3 touchdowns between the 3 players.
Okay. I like it. Like I really, really like that your call there. And I almost went with that one. I got a little into the weeds though on this one. And I tried taking a contrarian play on this one here. And Cooper Kupp, which obviously kind of a chalk type of play. But the next 2 guys I went with on a contrarian type of deal. I'm going to say Jamison Crowder finds a way to get into the end zone on this one, right? Like I think you'll see him come out of the slot there, get a deal. Stephon Diggs is going to draw the aggressive coverage on that one there. Where Buffalo tends to do when they get inside the 5 zone, which is the very, very valuable targets there, they favor the run, about a 55% run, 55% pass to run ratio. They throw the ball a little bit more there. Tight wide receivers are the most heavily targeted group out there. Running backs last year saw like 3 targets. Tight ends saw 4 targets in there, whereas your wide receiving core saw about 15 targets inside the 5 zone there. So I think Jamison Crowder finds a way to sneak in there on that one. And then I think we see a Gabe Davis sighting here as far as a touchdown goes. I think you're going to see probably a long shot, maybe a little bit of a busted play type of thing here. And I'm going to take the 2-time prize pool. So I think cumulative we'll see greater than 2.5 touchdowns on this one. So a lot of fun, guys. Again, you can join us, play with us on this one at monkeyknifefight.com. Use the promo code GOBFF. Right now they're doing a instant deposit match up to $100 for new customers over there. Again, using the code GOBFF on monkeyknifefight.com. Yeah, come play with us. A lot of fun. Let's go ahead and do that. And I want to see everybody throw us their, who they picked on that one and let us know what the outcome was for that one as well. Always a lot of fun there. Couple of questions coming in here before we get into our pine and shines. Was offered Javonte and Amon-Ra St. Brown for CD and ETN full PPR. Are y'all taking it? Yeah, I think I am.
Yeah, I think I am. I think we both like Javonte more than ETN, just a little bit. And I know you're really high on ETN.
I am extremely high on ETN, but they're close at that point.
CD.
But I think Javonte has the safer floor on that one, right? I see the ceiling being very, very similar for the 2. Javonte having the safer floor there, and the safer floor by a good shot there, I would think. Amon-Ra and CD, like, it's not going to surprise me to see Amon-Ra get 120, 130 targets on this one. Like that's Jared Goff has one of the lowest average depths of targets of a starting quarterback out there in the league. And that is going to be right in the wheelhouse of Amon-Ra St. Brown. So I think he's going to have a very, very good year. And I see him outperforming his ADP by a land shot. I think CD is actually going to have a hard time matching his ADP when this thing's all said and done.
Yeah. Dang. I think I'm really good with this either way.
Yeah.
Like,
it's a fair offer.
Pick which player you like most out of the 4 of them, and then lean that side of the trade. Like, and I think you're okay. Like, Dallas, they're going to have to throw the ball, right? Dallas is just going to have to throw the ball. And CeeDee Lamb is going to see a crap ton of targets. Like, I just don't care if he's double covered or not. Dak will find a way to hone in on him because he's not going – it's kind of like Patrick Mahomes last year, right, in that cover 2 shell. You start to force it a little bit. I think Dak finds a way to force it into CeeDee Lamb until Michael Gallup comes back, right, and takes some of that pressure off. But CeeDee Lamb and Dalton Schultz are going to be the 2 clear target winners in the Dallas offense right now. So I'm really not opposed to it with it being a full point. And I think that's kind of I think that might be where I'm leaning CD and ETN, is because it is a full point, and ETN makes up for that, like that difference between him and Javonte a little bit, right? Just because I think we both expect CD Lamb, or excuse me, we expect Travis Etienne to have, 70 catches this season.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
we
do
do.
think that makes up for some of that. So I really am okay with this trade on either side. So pick your favorite player of the four, and that's the side of the trade you need to go with.
Yeah. So how do we feel about ETN? Kevin and I are actually probably higher than a lot of the industry on ETN there, and there's a lot of folks out there really high on him. But he's deep at wide receiver, but ETN is running back 2 right now. That's why he's leaning at taking it. I mean, you can go either way there, right? Like I think Javonte and Travis Etienne, I think, have very similar ceilings when it's all said and done. But I do think that Javonte has the safer floor when the season's all said and done there, which if you're talking running back 2 there, right? Like depending upon who your running back 1 is, you could ultimately kind of go hero RB there. But I've got Travis Etienne with a ton of catches coming through there, but I don't see him necessarily seeing a ton of rushing work on this one. Where he's going to get to fantasy relevance is going to be very much in the Austin Eckler, the
DeAndre Swift last year.
Yes, DeAndre Swift, the Alvin Kamara type of role, where you're going to have to see 80 receptions or so for him to break the top 12.
Yeah, and Nick, your logic's sound, right? If
Yes.
you don't love ETN as your that boom,
Yep.
perfect, then that's the way you're going. There's nothing wrong with that. I love Amon-Ra St. Brown. I was pounding the table for him last year. I rode him into our home league fantasy championship game. I picked him up in our home league again. He's sitting in my flex spot right now. Like I really like Amon-Ra St. Brown. And obviously being a Broncos guy, I'm not going to tell you no on Javonte. So if you'd rather have Javonte over Travis Etienne and have that safer floor as your RB2, more power to you, buddy. Take him and Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah.
And you'll be just fine.
Yeah, I like both sides of that, to be honest with you. But if you got your guy, go and get it. Just want to address a couple of things. James Robinson kills ETN for me. Nick saying Robinson worries him too. I'm not worried about James Robinson in this one, right? And there's a very simple reason for this one. Tell me a running back that we've seen bounce back off of an Achilles inside 3 years that was as good or better than before the injury. I'll wait. We'll be waiting the rest of the night because it doesn't exist, right? Like Donta Foreman is the closest thing that we've seen bounce back from an Achilles injury and have some fantasy relevance there, right? Like the test will really tell this season to see what happens with both James Robinson and Cam Akers. But when we were talking through running backs, I was well documented on being very low on Cam Akers. In fact, I'd rather have Darrell Henderson, especially at the ADP that they were going at, because there was about a 7 to 8 round difference in them. Same thing with James Robinson. He will get some play. He will do some of that. But linebackers and running backs, we have yet to see them really bounce back from an Achilles, an ruptured Achilles, which is what the injury is on those things. And so I am not that worried about James Robinson. And Alex got us on the James Robinson train long before the rest of the fantasy industry out there, where we were talking James Robinson before his week 1 undrafted rookie year as a guy to keep an eye out on, because he could do some big things down there. So, yeah, I don't see it happening for me. I don't. If you got another point in there,
I'm not as carefree about Robinson as you are. And I think Doug Peterson is a large part of that, and how he typically facilitates his running back rooms. So I'm going to say I'm in between, right? It very much worries some. You seem to be on the side where I'm not concerned. That's his own set of target share or sharing of the offense, and that was going to be the same no matter what. And all that leans, hell, Javonte's healthy. Amon's healthy. You're not dealing with that. The timeshare in the Denver backfield should lean more towards Javonte Williams. I could see something a little bit tighter in Jacksonville just because of the skill sets are so polar opposite between ETN and James Robinson. So again, I'm good with it. I'm never going to tell you no if you want Javonte. Go for it.
Absolutely. Right. All righty. We're going to get in here to the last segment here, the pine and the shine. Let's go ahead and kick it off. We got the first pine, first shine of the year. Kevin, who is your pine?
Excuse me as I'm choking all over this. My pine for week 1 is Miles Sanders. Coming off of an injury, a little bit of a hammy there. They like to go split running back. I think you're going to see a lot of Kenneth Gainwell, some Boston Scott sprinkled in. Jalen Hurts still runs the ball a lot. So if you're looking for RB2 or flex position work, do not look for Miles Sanders. I do not believe he is your answer this week.
Yeah, those camp strings are a tough thing to bounce back from, certainly. Alex called for the pine of Zeke versus Tampa Bay. I think he's kind of looking at that from the lens of last year, where Zeke played an absolutely fantastic football game at the running back position for Dallas and what they called him in there to do, but for fantasy was very irrelevant there. So that's his pine, is Zeke versus Tampa Bay. My pine going to be Saquon Barkley. They've got the Tennessee Titans week 1. It's a very tough matchup for opposing running backs. Tennessee gave up the 31st, actually the second fewest points to opposing running backs last year. That defensive front, very strong there. Daniel Jones is very prone to making turnovers on that one. So Tennessee could get up early on this one. Salt the game away with that running attack and Derrick Henry, force New York to pass the ball more. And Daniel Jones really isn't a check down passer. So I think we see Saquon with very limited upside in this one here. Any thoughts on any of the pines?
No, I think it's sound. I think Dallas is going to implement basically the exact same game plan that they did last year.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, both teams have some questions around the offensive line. Quite frankly, Dallas did a little bit last year too, and questions around Dak. We know Dak is completely healthy. No Michael Gallup. You're just looking at CeeDee Lamb, Noah Brown, right? Dalton Schultz. So it's going to be harder, but I think they're going to do the same thing. They're going to keep Zeke in. He's going to see 15 carries, maybe. It might be 13 carries, right? Pollard will see 7 or 8, and then it's going to be a lot of passing. I think Dak's going to throw the ball 45 plus times this game.
Yeah, I could see that one. Alrighty, we're going to go ahead and head on into the shines. So who do you got shining here in week 1 for fantasy?
A flex play here, but my shine is going to be A.J. Dillon. I think A.J. Dillon falls into the end zone this week against Minnesota. I think that Aaron Jones is going to see a lot of some passing work. We don't know if Allen Lazard is going to play or not. These young receivers are trying to develop. So we're going to see – I think we're going to see a little bit more San Francisco 49er-esque out of the Green Bay Packers here to start the season, right? They're going to use both their running backs in their strengths. But I think Dillon's going to be an excellent shine play. I expect him to have 75 all-purpose yards and a touchdown.
I like it. Alex, calling for the revenge game shine. Russell Wilson versus Seattle. Calling for a big game for Russ there. It's usually a good formula. Talking revenge games for the shines. My shine, I'm going to go to the Atlanta and New Orleans game here, and I'm going to call for Michael Thomas to be a shine on this one. Atlanta last season gave up the 4th most points to opposing wide receivers. They really didn't do a ton as far as addressing some of the wide receiver or defensive secondary points there. So I see Michael Thomas being able to get about 7 receptions, 9 targets, somewhere around about 75 to 80 yards. And I could see him falling into a touchdown on this one here. So I've got Michael Thomas shining for you in kind of a flex play type of option there. So any thoughts as far as the shines go?
Sorry, you caught me in mid-water. No, I am going to be interesting to see how Michael Thomas looks, right? back from basically a 2-year hiatus and injury or not injury, whatever that kind of looks like. But now that he's back in the fold there in New Orleans, I am going to be interested to see how he looks. I know you're super high on him this year, so hopefully it works out for you.
Yeah, I mean, I ended up getting a stack with him and Jameson in the home league there, and I wasn't that opposed to it when I picked him up as my third or fourth wide receiver. I can't remember at that point when I drafted him, but depth play for me, so not at all too opposed to that one. Terry R saying Shine Olave, so he's calling for the Olave shot, same game. Glenn asking AJ Dillon or Marquise Brown at flex. Kevin just answered that one with his shine for you on that one, I do believe.
Ooh, I don't know about that. Not
Okay.
so fast as our beloved Lee Corso would say. I think I'm going Marquise Brown here against the Chiefs, right? The Chiefs are typically not as strong beginning of the season, especially against the pass. We know Kyler's going to have to drop back. We expect points on the board this game, and Hollywood Brown is the new toy. He is the most relevant toy in that passing offense here at the moment. So I think Dillon probably has the safer floor based off of guaranteed usage. But if you're looking for a higher upside, Marquise Brown's your play.
All right, you talked me into it. Cosign. I like it. All righty. And Terry is also saying shine Elijah Moore. Maybe I got to see it for that Jets offense and what that quarterback situation looks like there. Yeah, Joe Flacco.
Flacco scares me.
Yes. So, yes.
You could see Corey Davis with like 17 targets in this game just because of Joe Flacco. And quite frankly, Davis is who you want Flacco throwing the ball to because of his size.
Yes.
Right? Flacco isn't always the most accurate quarterback, even though he stands at like 6'7" back there. He gets happy feet a little bit, so that does help Elijah Moore a little bit. But I don't. This week it's a little scary for me. I want to see how it plays out as well.
Don't be surprised Michael Carter has a big game, right? Like Joe Flacco likes to check down the ball. We've seen Michael Carter put up monster weeks.
Oh, heck yeah. That's what he did at Carolina.
Absolutely, right? So I'm kind of more in your line of thinking Corey Davis in a Michael Carter week out of that far more than Garrett Wilson or Elijah Moore type of week on that one. So that's kind of what I've got. And I know that
I can call a Corey Davis shine.
Yes, you can. It's been proven. It's a guaranteed fact at that point.
All 3 games he had last year.
Absolutely.
Thielen.
Yep. Brandon Ayuk or Thielen at flex. This is Thielen all day on this one. I do believe you'll see Thielen catch a touchdown on this one, and it'll be pretty quick, fast, and in a hurry. So I'm going with Thielen as well.
Cosign.
All righty. So Kevin, I do believe that's going to take us down to the end of it. Want to thank everybody in the chat and throwing the comments in, throwing the questions in. A lot of fun getting to interact with you guys and getting to answer your questions. We absolutely love and enjoy being able to help y'all out and try and get y'all on that march to cash and trophies. And week 1 is the start of that march to cash and trophies and helping y'all do that one. Kevin, any final thoughts out there for the listeners?
Enjoy week 1, guys. All the hard work and preparation has been put in. Now we get to see how week 1 kind of sets up for us. Keep firing off the start sits. We're happy to help you out where we can. Stay tuned to the website for the article dropping tomorrow on Battleship tight ends. It'll be a fun read. I can promise you that. So other than that, hit us up on the socials at Good Old Boys FF. We're happy to engage and interact any way possible.
I love it. We do have one question. Just came in here before I send us out and sign us off here. Keem over there on YouTube asking, what do y'all think about DJ Moore or Adam Thielen? I've got to go DJ Moore on that one.
Cosign. I'm going DJ Moore.
Yeah.
I like Thielen, but there's a reason you drafted DJ Moore in the
4th round.
4th round, probably.
Maybe 5th if he fell.
Yeah, but all things have been very positive from both local and national writers who cover the Panthers about Baker's instant connection with DJ Moore. He is a target monster for that team. Christian McCaffrey being back helps him immensely because he is he's someone that you just can't ignore. So it helps DJ Moore in the passing game. So I like Moore a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. DeAndre Swift season, throw your team in the chat. We'll rate it here real fast for you. So go ahead and type that one in there, and we'll rate it while you do that. And while you're typing that in there, I will I'll kind of start taking us through it. So guys, couple of things, programming notes to keep on the calendar, keep an eye out for. One, we do have the Battleship tight end article coming out tomorrow on the website, goodoldboysff.com. You'll be able to find that under the articles tab in that one. It'll be the early one in there. You'll probably see it dropping sometime tomorrow in the afternoon would be my guess on when we'll actually get that up there and get that posted on that one. You'll also be able to read through some of the monkey knife fight and some of my predictions on what that one looked like there as well on the website there as well. We're going to be going live. We're now live 3 times a week for y'all to help y'all with your fantasy, your fantasy and your props and helping your lineups and all that kind of stuff. Tuesday night, y'all just watched it and listened to it. So we're going Tuesday nights, 11 p.m. Eastern. We're live. And then you've got Friday. Kevin and I are coming back on Fridays, 11 p.m. Eastern to go ahead and hit that one up. So Friday shows, we're going through all the matchups for Sunday for you. So we're calling our shots on who we think is going to win the matchup, what do we think the predicted point totals are going to be for those types of things, as well as we're going to be hitting up some props, some players that we really like, and some props that we think could hit for you on those ones as well. And then Sunday morning is a question and answer show where we're doing everything we can to help y'all get the lineups ready and optimized for kickoff. On that one, we go live at 11:30 a.m. Eastern on Sunday mornings there. So lots of content coming at you. Again, one of the best ways to help support this independent podcast is to head over to the YouTube channel, click the subscribe button. Like I said, we're only a few subscribers away from the 600 mark, and that would be a big kick for us if we can clear 600 subscribers before Thursday night kickoff comes in here. And questions in here, Kevin. So rate the team. Lamar, Debo, Keenan, Akers, Elliott, Kmet, Judy at the flex, Lazard at the flex, Lockett, Patterson, Rashad White, Khalil Herbert, Gage, Henderson. I made some trades if you couldn't tell. Haha. Could tell a little bit. DeAndre Swift, real quick, too, if you can throw that out there. Is it a 10-man team, a 12-man team? League size, is it half point, full point, PPR? That'll kind of help us gauge that there a little bit on that one. But
overall, I like it overall, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I think I like Henderson, how you have him handcuffed to Akers, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think there might be parts of the season where it gives you a little bit of a headache, but it does provide that security there. Elliott, as unsexy as Zeke Elliott is, he's a solid RB2. Like, he just is. So if that's where your expectations are, you're good. I think he could be a very high-end RB2 in some cases. So it'll be interesting to see if he's fully healthy. I know we both like Cole Kmet.
Very high on Cole Kmet.
Judy, I'm not in love with, honestly, personally, even as a Broncos fan. I really prefer Sutton over Judy. I know some folks feel the other way, but that's okay. I really like Lazard, though. He might keep an eye on him, though. There's a chance he doesn't play week 1, so you might need to move him out of your lineup. If you need to move him, I'm
putting Patterson in on what he's got his lineup set, like what you're showing us there.
Yeah, I think I put Patterson in for Lazard if he doesn't play. Yeah. But no, overall, I like it. I like Lamar again. I picked him up in a work league I did Monday. I have him and Debo, actually. I have both of those guys in there. So I like that combo. Overall, I think you're going to do really well here to start. And then it's just kind of gauging the waiver wire and seeing how you can improve.
Yeah, I think that you've got a very solid foundation with your starting lineup there, right? Lamar, Debo, Keenan, like, you've got positional advantage there as far as quarterback goes, as far as wide receivers 1 and 2 there. I think that you've set yourself up very, very well there. I really like the Cole Kmet pick, right? And that's Cole Kmet. You're able to get late. You're able to, kind of rock that one out there take him in the 10th, 11th round in a lot of cases. And I think that he's got top 6 upside for, tight end finish this year. Judy in the flex, I don't mind. I'm also a Sutton believer over the Judy on this one. And I really like that Lazard pick there as well. And you've got some good depth. A couple of things out there that are worth keeping an eye on, both Rashad White, Khalil Herbert. I like them as a handcuff type of play. But if you are if you're needing to move some things around to make some momentum or get some different things there as far as your roster goes, those are going to be the guys that ultimately are kind of probably going to be the first cut off of this one here to be able to make some things happen there. So I like it. Any other thoughts there?
No, I agree. I love the interaction. Thank you. It's so fun to be back in season, right?
Yes.
The grind of off season and everything else, but it's so fun to be back in season and have all the interactions. So thank you all so much for the questions and chiming in. It makes the show even more fun, right? Derek and I can have a good time talking shop for an hour or two if we need to by ourselves, but everybody chiming in questions and everything else is a blast. So thank you all so much.
Absolutely. And DeAndre Swift season, thank you very much for that subscribe there.
Appreciate
Again,
it,
one of the best ways to help support this independent podcast there. So, all righty. So, guys, that's going to do it for us. We're going to call it a night here. We'll be back Friday night, 11 p.m. Eastern, live for you, breaking down the entire slate of Sunday and Monday games for you and going through that one. Would love to see you back in the chat and interacting with you then as well. You can hit us up on the socials, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitch at Good Old Boys FF. And again, the YouTube channel is the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. YouTube channel, we are available as well on just about every podcast platform out there. So you got the audio version of this guy out there as well on just about every audio podcast platform out there as well. Guys, that's going to do it for us. He's Kevin. I'm Derek. Have a good one. Be safe, y'all.